Welcome to the Actors
Thank
Craft.
you. Thank you.
I am so,
Okay.
it's an absolute honor to be able to talk with you today.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
As a way to start things off, what's the first film that made you fall in love with cinema?
Oh, Thief of Baghdad,
Mm-hmm.
Alexander Korda.
Oh.
I saw the movie when I was 8 months old, my mom tells me, in Delhi.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine that?
In Delhi.
And when the genie came out of the bottle, I screamed, and so my mom had to take me out of the theater until I calmed down. So I have quite a weird memory. I remember things way back, and it was just hazy images. But then I had seen the film later when I was 5 years old again, the same film. And it was totally fascinating. And that was it. And I used to see movies with my dad a great deal. And so that was great fun because, like, we used to go to the cinema and see the movies. And most of the time, movies I liked to see, I wanted to see, which was later when I was at school, where all the kind of like the noir films and the, cowboy films, they used to make a lot of Westerns at that time. And I used to make up stories and I tell stories when I was little. So it was a very natural thing for me. I mean, I didn't think I was ever going to do anything else except be in this business of dramatic storytelling. Because since a knee-high kid, I was a dramatic storyteller, in actual fact. And that was it. And it's a very strange thing. Many years afterwards, in London, the guy who played the lead in Alexander Korda's Thief of Baghdad was the prince. And there was Saab also. You may recall from the old movie kind of things. Saab was a very interesting young character who was picked up by, I think, some German or French director, and he became famous. He was from Bengal, I don't know where, but that was it. And he was in movies like The Thief of Baghdad and so on, and had leading parts, and was very interesting, a very good actor in actual fact. But John Ho was actually, I discovered that we not only worked together on a show, out of the blue. He was my three houses down my neighbor.
Oh, what a coincidence!
And I always used to sketch, so I used to make. I was good at sketching, and not so good at actually. I mean, I used to read lots and lots of comic books, and had stacks of comics, classics and otherwise, and so on. And Dad had lots of books in the house, always. I mean, there were a few thousand books, at least about 3,000 on magazines and things like that. It was like a library, just huge. He was a
amazing.
And he was a playwright. All kinds of magazines and things, and film magazines, technological magazines, extraordinary things. You don't see books like that anymore. And then he actually, I end up talking about my dad because he had a lot of influence in my life.
The great Rafi Saab.
Yeah. And he was actually, he worked with the Reinhardt Company in Berlin. During the 20s and the 30s. And so it was very, I just grew up with that scene. I grew up with films like Metropolis, and down at the age of around 12, 13, I'd seen pretty much all the famous silent classics. Which was extraordinary, actually, because it's very difficult, especially at that time, way up in the early 60s, and things, it was just not possible.
Hmm.
But there was a film society that was set up in the college I went to briefly. My dad's advisory and a friend of his who was the English language head of department, a fascinating professor, Mr. Ishfaq, Professor Ishfaq, and they set up a film society at college, Lahore. And they had in a big screen. I saw all these movies on the big screen. And then cinema was pretty much, it was, for briefly, it was during my kind of school time, late 50s, going to college, early 60s, was, I went to England about 63 when I was a kid almost. But the thing is that that was a very interesting time in this part of the world, because I was aware. I remember 1947 very clearly. I mean, of my earliest memories, very clear memories.
About 5, I would. I think.
Yeah, something like that. So, like you know, it's. But I remember things. I mean, several times I used to ask my mother, I said, what was happening then? And she would say, my God, you can't remember that. And I said, I'm asking you, you're not telling me. So please tell me what's going on. And so I remember those things very well, and those images and things. And dead bodies and the burning of the Lahore city part of it, and fires and things and so on and so forth. I remember all of that quite well. But after that, and I remember the refugees, I remember the faces of people and refugee camps, because I remember my uncle adopted a girl from there who had lost her parents and her whole family. And many years afterwards, it turned out her parents turned up, something like 20 years afterwards. And she was from a Sikh family. And we knew her as our older sister, like, you know, the older cousin sister, because etc. So, you know, that was all there, but didn't see the actual, what do you call, the 60s time was just for a brief moment, was a very beautiful time in where this part of the world called Pakistan and India. It was very pleasant. It was just not
like how it is now.
No. Cinema was available. But I mean, you know, I'd seen Kurosawa's films here, and when I was a kid, 4 of his films, a lot of the Italian films, and then all the majors studios had their offices in Lahore and Karachi. Distribution. So movies were, and then what was made in India was there, and what was shot here in this country was there. So it was a film going culture. It's no longer a film going culture. I mean, for the cinema to actually flourish, you have to have a film going culture.
Yes, exactly.
You know, otherwise, you know, seeing films on cell phones and TV and stuff, it's not the same thing. It's like going to the movie theater. It's the cinema, watch the movie on the big screen.
Experience that you have. Film.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not going to have the experience on your phone.
Yeah, but people do that. I mean, you know, that's it. It's a whole different generation, different kind of mindset.
Can I just say, I'm very much like that as well. Like my brother and I, we're hardcore movie fans, and we watch films like they should be, like on the projector. And literally everything is dark, phones are off, put away, and that's when you watch the film. And we literally I've never watched a film on my phone ever. I can be proud to say that.
Well, I was doing a show in Birmingham for ATV television. It was a series, and not a great series, but it was a job and it was paying pretty good. And I was doing it for 6 months. And one day I had off. So I went out early in town. I didn't know really Birmingham really well at that time. It used to be a different place at that time. Now the whole country's changed altogether, as you know. But I was just looking around to see what movie I could actually go and see in matinee, and I saw this Italian movie there. I didn't know. I was like, I grew up in. I am. My generation is the last generation that actually belonged to the studio system. That's it.
Yeah.
The much fabled, famous Hollywood studio system no longer exists. I mean, the name is there, but that thing is gone completely. It's over, done with. And I grew up in that business, and it was just a fascinating experience. So I was like really, many ways quite ignorant and learning. But I mean, the thing is this, that I was very focused in my work, and I'd never been to a drama school or a film school. Because my dad used to tell me when I was going overseas, he says, okay, fine. I mean, I'd done 2 films here already as a young kid, and I was very energetic and just wanted to do things, directed plays and so on. And at the age of 17, I did Midsummer Night's Dream, Shakespeare, and just got it and did it, and it went okay. I got the next one. But I was completely, my mind was totally kind of trapped in the old Hollywood system that I saw in the studios. And my dad used to say that if you ever learn anything in this business, if you're lucky enough to be inside a studio, that's where you learn, not in a film school, in the old days. And so true, very true in actual fact, many ways, because it's a practical business. And I saw this movie. I just went in, I saw the subtitles, it's Italian, and I didn't know anything much outside the Hollywood cinema system, because, those are the movies I was working constantly on, those films, studios, old directors, J. Lee Thompson, like Edward Dmytryk, people like that. It was a whole different ball game. And so even the television series that we used to do, like and there were some American co-productions in the UK at that time.
Yeah.
So I saw the manager come in and so I went in to see this movie. I thought, oh, see the subtitles. This was Fellini's Giulietta of the Spirits.
Oh.
And you know what? I was just mesmerized. Yeah. I had not seen cinema work like that. I thought, wow. It was just amazing. I just ignored the subtitles. Because it was subtitled, it was in Italian, because it was just magical movement. This was in color.
Yes.
And then when I go back to London, I try to find out, and I just trade magazines and things, and I discovered that this is famous film with Anita Ekberg and Marcello Mastroianni. It was showing in Paris. So I took the hovercraft. I went to Paris, stayed there. So I came out of the matinee show, Giulietta of the Spirits.
Yes.
Went back for the 6 o'clock show. Went back for the 9 o'clock show. I saw the movie 3 times in one day. Yeah.
that means you loved it.
Not seeing sort of like, camera movements and things like that in the traditional, like American cinema, British cinema and stuff like that. British industry, sadly, I think my view is it just never developed, because it was the English language. It was very easy for British actors and technicians to work in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Make big dineros. And the British production or distribution outlets became just post offices for American movies. So completely taken over, and the British industry just went out of the window.
Yeah, exactly.
Just completely. And it was happening right in front of everybody. And, people would just always say, all the big names in the British film industry at the time would always come and lament after they'd done a couple of numbers in Hollywood. They come and sort of say, oh, this for the British film industry and that. But the fact is that it just never worked. And because it just never happened. It was just a very sad thing, because, you had some very interesting, Ken Loach.
Yes.
Couldn't find distribution for his own film in England.
exactly.
That's
He's one of my dad's favorites.
oh yeah. So I mean, like I did a film with Tony Garnett, who
Yeah,
produced Kathy Come Home with Ken Loach, and it was actually for BBC at the time. They
yeah,
they didn't make films, but this one was they started making movies as plays. They were called plays, but they were movies,
yes,
and they were experimenting. And the director was James McTaggart, and very, very good, one of the best directors going at the time. And Charles Wood wrote the thing. He was a very interesting writer, and the Leonard Rossiter was
hmm
in it, and I had the other lead in the show, and it was a great experience. So what can I say?
London has been such a big part of your life. Would
Very
you?
big.
It's like I think you happen to be in the most like colorful era in London.
Oh, but
Describe the
like,
60s to me, like as someone who wasn't there in London in the 60s. Please describe, paint the picture, sights and sounds.
ooh, it was just I could only describe it as magical
Yes,
because I didn't know at the time that much, but I mean, just living it.
just
And
living it,
it
yeah.
was just full of energy. It had the kind of energy which England doesn't have no more. It was the first time after many years I experienced it for a bit, for a while. Some years back, was in New York. And New York is also now, most of the old people have gone out of New York because of being expensive. It doesn't have that. But London had that magical energy, you know.
Yes.
It was just buzzing all of the time. Things were happening, music, Beatles, the whole number.
Mm.
And it was also a period of major change. It was a big societal, philosophical, artistic, technological change period. You know, the
Mm.
whole was changing. World War II was not that long ago. As you just try to think about it for a minute. It's
Yes.
10, 15, 20 years ago, it has finished. I mean, 60s. So 45, the war finished. People didn't recover. And you could see that in if you went out to Eastern Europe, like in Berlin, Eastern Berlin, you could see that there was a war taking place here.
Yes.
England, it was, I didn't go to places like Coventry and things, but, I traveled quite a bit. But people were still scarred, people still recovering. But it was just a surge, a tide of new life kind of thing. It was just, and London for that point and moment in time was the center of it.
Mm.
Not Los Angeles, not New York, not Paris. It was London.
Yes.
Yeah,
It was.
and
Yeah, like
and
Twisted Nerve, I watched, and it was just one of those iconic films. And
yeah,
and I actually watched it many years ago, but then obviously when I rewatched it again, I was like, this is such an iconic film. And actually, like like the Bolting brothers, my father was saying he absolutely used to watch everything from them, and literally it
they
was
were great.
yeah.
John and Roy, yeah,
Roy
and,
Bolton, yes. So,
yeah.
what was this experience with like working on such an iconic film like Twisted Nerve? I mean, Shashi.
Yeah, well, they almost there was a lot of propaganda against me when they were casting
Mhm.
movie. When they screen tested me, they wanted me, but they wanted to make sure that I was not going to create any bad scenes. And because I just got this kind of image somehow. My agent worked quite hard at it. He said, no, actually, he's a very good guy. He doesn't create
Mm.
trouble. He doesn't hit people too much and so on and so forth. They said, too much? What do you mean? And that kind of thing. Because there was a scrap with a producer on the same series.
Oh, okay.
And uh, the thing is this, I went out with a bunch of very famous people that one night and got hit in the face by somebody. I was just very young and inexperienced. And the director had a problem with me, but he was a really nice guy, one of my favorite directors, Ray Austin. I mean, he's used to be a stunt guy and an actor also, but he was a great action director. He was very good for series like The Saint and Avengers and so on and so forth. Not the new ones, but the old ones.
Yes, classics.
The new ones don't have the magic of the old ones.
No.
And, so that was like a bit of just, somebody putting nasty words around me. And they call me up and they say, are you a troublemaker? And I said, no, sir, I'm not. No way.
That must be really awkward.
Yeah. And I said, you're not going to have any problems with me, etc. And so, but the good part was that Roy and John became great sort of supports in my life. They were always a phone call away. They would tell me, we're always a phone call away. Anything you need in the industry, just pick up the phone call. And they knew I wanted to make my own movies and things. So it was a great relationship. I loved working with them. I really enjoyed working with Roy and John, but mostly my interchange with Roy. I did 2 movies with him, and it was just fantastic. I loved it, everything. And the whole of the atmosphere at the time. I mean, I worked with the I would always spend time with the technicians, not with the actors. So in those days, there was a big divide between the actors, stars, and technicians.
Technicians, yes.
So, there was the studio restaurant was the kind of the lunchtime was the kind of great big PR time also, because all kinds of personalities and movie stars and peoples and agents, directors would be having lunch. Who's having lunch with who, sort of thing. And I would be in the canteen or the bar with the technicians, not drinking, because I would mostly ask for lunchtime. I'd also ask for a pint of milk instead of beer. So like people used to make fun of me. So like and the thing is this, that Roy called me over. This American actress, Lee Remick, was there. She was having, Billy Whitelaw was in the movie, and what a fabulous lady. What a fabulous lady. And she was having lunch with Roy, and Roy was waiting for me to turn up. And because I was sitting with him and Haley, they just got married actually, which was just,
yes, my dad mentioned that they were.
They got married during the movie.
During the movie? Oh wow!
Yeah, suddenly, yes, So, or just before it, and then Roy said, "What's going on?" And you're just always there with these guys, technicians. I said, "Roy, they make the movies."
Exactly. Without them, there wouldn't be any movie.
Yeah. So I said, how come? What, as a matter of this cigar? And, I said, well, because they make the movies. And I want to make movies. And he says, that's so? I said, yes, sir, that is so. And he used to laugh. And the thing is that then when we talked, and I shot one of the guys, the gaffers, on the movie, worked on Thief of Baghdad, Alexander Korda, the movie I saw when I was 8 months old.
Your favorite film?
I mean, just amazing. I mean, a person who's been making, and Roy used to do. I mean, I used to remember, because I would be watching. Going on was how it's being shot, what's happening. I always knew the camera crew really well, and I knew the operators, the focus guys, and we had drinks together and stuff like that. Not so much the actors. And because these guys were my friends and still are my friends. I mean, those who are alive and so on. And so, Roy would sort of action cut, and he'd look at Charlie. Charlie would go like this, and Roy would say, print it. So I Roy, I said, you wait for Charlie to give you the okay. He said, zip the lip and just go and do your work. And so, but I just had great fun. It was just wonderful. Great time. And London, although it didn't have the kind of stuff that Paris, for instance, had, like cafes and so on and so forth.
Yes.
London didn't have any of that. And the pubs closed at what, 10:30 or 11 or something like that?
I think they still do. They still close.
Oh, right. Okay. And then there was only one kind of bar that was the kind of like the actors lot. That was like people from the business, was Jerry's in Shaftesbury Avenue and under the underground.
Yes.
And everybody was kind of cramped in Jerry's after the pubs closed. And it didn't have kind of like Paris, like street cafes open all night, and New York was different and so on. But it still had that energy on the streets. It had that magic everywhere you went, every studio, places, all the musicians. I had a lot of musicians, my friends. I mean, I spent time with guys like Lennon and so on and so forth, and got to know Yoko, his wife, and it was just happening. Like, it was just nothing special.
It doesn't happen like that anymore.
You're in the loop, and you just keep going. I mean, from person, and what a fabulous collection of people. Everybody was so charged. Everybody was so excited about life in general. Just everything, ideas and positivity, everything, all of the time. There was nothing negative or anything. But money was, I don't think was really. It was just art. It was creative work. It was a big music scene. I mean, just amazing. And it just was there. And when I came, I left London in 1974 because my dad died, and I had two contracts. I had just finished a movie called Private Enterprise.
Yes.
And I played the main character in that film, and it became very famous. The film did really well. It was a fabulous film, and I didn't go back for the release of the film. I had some contracts in the US, because I've worked with producers working with the Bolting brothers, who just wanted me over in New York and screen tests and various things, and wanted me to work there. But I had not seen my dad for a long time, and it was almost 11 years, sort of thing. Yes. And so I came back, and I missed my dad by 10 hours. I mean, he was dead. He was refusing to die because he was waiting for me. He said, he's coming, he's coming. I had to actually fly from Spain to London to come to here, because I was working out there on movies. I used to work for working for a director called John Frankenheimer.
And Horseman?
Yeah, Horseman and other stuff.
Yes.
Basically. And so it's and then it was a very strange experience for me here. Like, it was just everything was different, but strangely familiar. It was like a memory from a dream sort of thing. And it was very odd experience. And then my dad's part of his work disappeared suddenly. I wanted his recordings. And All India Radio Delhi, where he actually made his productions, most of some of his famous things, and played a very major part. And they used to actually do a yearly remembrance thing about my dad. After he's gone for 3, 4, 5 years, then he just fizzled out. But they had a lot of records of his work and recordings and so on and so forth. And I know that my dad wrote a lot of, he wrote in Sanskrit, he wrote Punjabi, he wrote in Urdu, and German and English. And because, and I wanted, and then his talks were in English. And I wanted his recordings.
Yes.
And I went to people and I said, like, those who worked with him, here are the tapes, just give me the recordings. And they couldn't find them. They just disappeared. All his work disappeared. And this was beyond shocking.
Such a shame, because he was like a pioneer in
yeah. It was because of jealousy primarily, because it's it's weird from political reasons. Whatever. I then had to get back because I had projects and my own, and I had the release of Private Enterprise coming up. And I ended up getting amazing reviews for that. And I just couldn't receive the benefit because I was not there. And I was offered a lot of work immediately after the release. I was not there because I was actually working, setting up what became known in this country as Rafi Peer Theatre Workshops.
Yes.
I don't run it. I have I have nothing. I mean, they even removed my name from founder on it. But it was my brother. Okay. My brother own it and run it. Okay. And this company has done now some of the biggest arts festivals of theater and dance in Southeast Asia.
I've heard, actually, yes. So a couple of years ago, there were directors from India coming over.
There's 60 countries participating, 60 countries traveling, flying, and participating, and in theater, dance, and all that kind of stuff. But I just wanted to actually his name, my dad's name, to be there.
Yes.
And I wanted a theater company named after him because he was just an amazing dramatist and a highly underrated person. Because so I was just possessed by that thing, and my agent was going bananas. He said, "What the fuck is the matter with you? It's like there's so much happening for you after all this hard work in your life." But it was very important.
No, that's important as well. Like to have your dad's legacy, lineage.
To explain the dynamics of a place like this to somebody who has not seen it. I mean, or experienced it, because this is a very weird culture. So anyway, that happened, and the theater workshop got established really well because my productions were good. And I did the opening thing I was a musical, but a political statement at the same time, because I don't believe that art and politics, but it's a complication, because when you're telling a story, a human story, then human beings then are affected by politics. Their lives can be destroyed completely, altogether. Now, people don't have that kind of experience. People have that experience, people who lived in the nationalist socialist era of the German Reich, But immediately afterwards, it was burst of this phenomenal 60s was phenomenal period of change of everything, so theater, cinema, technology, whatever. It just, you know, like fireworks. It was just going, and there was a demonstration going on in the 60s, and big student student guy became the leader in Paris. I went to Paris to actually see what was happening. I'd never seen so many people in my life on the streets protesting, I didn't even know what it was all about.
Yeah.
The thing is, this was just a movement of people, and
contagious when you see that many people together.
So where do you find you can't have synthetic art stories. They must come from life.
It reflects the human life.
Yeah, and people are the characters are all the characters I ever do. I do a lot of writing. I'm a filmmaker. I photograph my films, the thing is that all the characters I make are people I know. Some I know well, some I don't know well, some I know just like this, some I know a whole lot better, but they're real people.
Yeah.
So life is very complex, and that makes art very complex and interesting. It's I don't know. It's people talk about acting. I listen to a lot of stuff sometimes, but on Instagram, everybody's there on talking about acting, and very animated actors, and then they're actors, and then they're kind of like famous people. Obviously, if you're going to ask somebody famous or unfamous about, they're going to say something, So everything. I was thinking the other day, fine, okay, because I'm going to be doing some kind of workshop with some art students for film and theater, and I was trying to work out what to do with these kids, and everything that needs to be said about acting has been said. There's nothing new you can say about acting or making movies. What are you going to do? People have asked me a couple of times, and etc. The thing is that sometimes there's some things I can do really well, there's some things I can't. And when I was starting work in the early 60s, my very first film I made, I actually directed my first show at that time, and a theater play. And then the first film I made was a French film. I've never seen that movie. A lot of stuff I've done in my life as an actor, I've never seen. Not got the opportunity to see it, so that was a great experience for me. I loved it, and the people were nice, and the producer was one of the producers became very famous. Claude Lelouch with Man and a Woman. When Man and a Woman was released in the United States and England, it just kind of shook people because they were making films like standard set pieces, mid shot, long shot, close up, all that kind of stuff, and this was like Fellini's La Dolce Vita. Oh
my goodness.
You said, my gosh. I went to Paris to see that movie. All the way to Paris. And I saw it first day 3 times in the theater, 3 showings. And then I went out on the streets absorbing the film, it was a whole different turn. And a magical thing happened. I was at a festival, and this was in Italy. And I was just standing by in the foyer, the bar was there and the ticket counter was there, and with the usherette. And I was just watching the people go into the theater, and I was watching the film from the standing behind the last row of the seats. I was just looking at these couple of people sitting there, and just there were 4 people. And I asked the usherette, I said, "This guy looks like Mr. Fellini." And she said, "He is Mr. Fellini."
Oh,
You know? So what an amazing experience. So, here's this guy sitting watching my movie. And
yeah.
when I actually had this question answer thing, and the first question that came my way, it was, you seem to have a lot of Fellini influence and your style, etc. I said, well, subconsciously, it's very possible, completely, totally, because this is what happens in life, and you learn, you move. What happened is I just did not know, but I was so engaged in creating this theater workshop. So I thought it should be just really solid little company, because I knew that my brothers, I have a lot of brothers, and I said that they can run it and they can get kind of like grilled and trained, because I'm like, I'm a pro, I'm a professional person. I'm not a great intellectual. I don't have a lot of words to explain this, that, and the other. And sometimes I marvel at people's vocabulary, but when I see their work, it doesn't impress me so much at all. And there's a difference between how people describe things and kind of word they use and so on and so forth, and what they do in actual fact.
Yes.
And I'm very fortunate, because I fortunate in the sense that I've worked with the right kind of technicians, the right people in my life journey. And so I was, it was like if somebody was actually taking me from this to here, to here, to here, to here. And so I can learn, basically. Which no school on the planet can teach me. My film studio is the biggest
Yeah.
school in the planet.
Practically doing it is actually teaching you more.
Yeah.
So that's how you absorb the information, and
Yeah.
by doing
And
this.
yeah, and so when I was just starting this business, all the young people, like my kind of like colleagues and people I knew, were kind of really charged with Stanislavski. I've never read a book on how to act. I've never read how an actor prepares. There used to be the Bible in the 60s in New York City and here and everywhere. Worldwide, the actors were kind of like, Stanislavski, the actor prepares. I'm not trying to denigrate Mr. Stanislavski, the great artist, and Russians have phenomenal contributions in the arts and cinema, theater, and so on, and literature, of course. And the thing is that I read different kind of things. I read mostly history, combat strategies, because I was interested always in martial arts and things, and history fascinated me, because history was stories and relationships of people coming generation to generation, stories how and I had difficulties reading, because I had dyslexia, I didn't know that for quite a while. So each line I had to read. So I was a bad student, but I was very good at sketching. I mean, from an early age, so I used to draw images and sketches. I would make storyboards of stories. One of the stories I was actually storyboarding was called The Three Spies, because when I was a kid, way back, the kind of like the successful genre of filmmaking were the thrillers, the mystery, the spy thrillers. The Third Man, the Man Between. Graham Greene was a great writer, and they wrote thrillers and so on and so forth. And my dad also wrote a lot of thrillers. And but I am still that fascinated kid. Actually, I'm not. My ma, God bless her, and wherever she is at this one point in time, she passed away a few years ago, and she used to say that I wish you grow up. when are you going to grow up? I mean, sometimes you say things like, like you used to when you were 12 years old. I said, I mean, I can't help it. That's the way I am. What do you want me to do? And so I am totally fascinated by life, by this work, cinema, because it's so changed entirely. The whole grammar of filmmaking has changed. Yeah, there's a whole new ball game, there's a whole new generation, which is this kind of like this generation,
Yeah.
and every like this, and people. I mean, it's so. It looks like that. That humanity is kind of heading for a very major nervous breakdown, basically. What else? It's so I miss that quite a bit because that was a very important part of my life that'll never go away. It's always there in England. And I've unfortunately not been back. I'd love to be back and do some things because I have to resolve a couple of things there. My films are there. They have to be re-released and things. And but I would just want to go see the old streets, and streets are still there, but I gather they changed quite a bit.
Oh, they
Because
have.
I went to the United States and I was there for quite a while, and then came back here, and so I've not been to England for a while. No,
We'd love to welcome you back to London. Honestly, we would be so excited to have you back.
yeah.
Because a lot has changed. It's true. Like for example, like I think you still get that old kind of energy when you go into central London. Like you have that energy, but like like around the suburbs, people aren't talking to each other like they would have back, like how you described. Like people were talking to each other. Everyone was kind of bumping into each other, having conversations, and that I think that was a different time. And my dad was actually describing because they had moved to London in the 60s, so
Uh-huh.
around the same time. So, and my dad was about 10 when he moved to London from Kenya.
Oh.
And actually, my dad said one of his first memories of being in London was they used to go to their mamu's house like once a week, and the prime focus after dinner was to watch The Saint. that was that was like the thing to do. Like it was on prime time television, and that was like the highlight of the week. Just to sit in the mamu's house watching The Saint.
Yeah.
Roger Moore.
He was very great guy. He was not a great James Bond, but he was very good as Saint. He was very good in that Simon Templar character.
Simon
He was
Templar.
very funny, very nice person, very kind of like I liked him a lot. We had a good thing going.
I
I
saw,
like
yeah, I saw the fight scene you had with Roger Moore. Do you know when the sister gets abducted? You have a lovely fight scene in the house, and
Roger,
yeah.
Roger, Roger was no good at fighting anything.
But I enjoyed it because and you must have been so young. Like I think you must have been in your like early 20s around then, but 60s,
Yeah,
I think it was.
yeah. And my best thing was my like when I just went over and started. That was a very difficult time because I would go and they would say, "Do you have an agent?" No. You belong to the equity? No. So no, you can't belong to the, you get a job, then you go to the equity, say that you get a job, then we will give you a temporary membership. So it's just like catch-22 going on. And I used to say, what the hell? And then I discovered that there were extra unions. So I joined the extra union. And I just took off, and I got the card, and I used to go check, do I have the membership done, because it was close to their office, was close to where I lived. And one day I went down there. I said, am I a member right now? So can I actually put myself? And the secretary said, or the chairman or the president, whatever the word, he wants to see you. I said, fine. And this guy came out, the old guy came out, and he said, are you Rafi's son? And I said, yeah.
Nice.
And he said, I am your father's friend. And I said, pleasure to meet you, sir. I said, what's your name? He said, J. Grant Anderson. Oh, of course, I'd known that name through growing up, J. Grant Anderson. J. Grant Anderson, Prithvi Raj Kapoor, Raj Kapoor's father, and my dad used to have a joint company, theater company, traveling all over India.
Yeah.
When he came back from Germany, my father.
Yes, in the
And so
1920s he was there in Germany, wasn't he?
yeah, but he was there then, but he came back after Hitler was already in power. He literally kind of, got out like a lot of other people did. My older sister was trapped there. But the thing is that when he came back to India, then he used to do dramatic readings.
Mm.
Traveled right across read Shakespeare, Goethe, various other things. He spoke several languages. And then he made a movie, Nichan Nagar, with Chetan, Devanand's brother.
That was one of the first Indian films to win the grand prize at Cannes.
Yeah. So my dad had great input in that film because like Chetan was friends with dad they were from Lahore,
yes,
etc. And they were friends from back here, and they kind of like, and he was very successful on the radio, All India Radio Delhi. His
yes.
Classic play, Punjabi play, Akhiyan, Eyes,
yes.
was actually was the first regional language play that was broadcast on the national hookup in those days. Like all the Bengal, here, every province in the state of India, and was a colossal hit. It's also we just moved people, and it was it was a woman's story, Village Girls, about without waving flags. It was one of the most powerful pieces written for women's rights ever. Amongst one of the most powerful pieces. And his other play was, he used to say, my best plays were Akhiyan, and people used to tell him you can't write drama in Punjabi. He said, nonsense.
Of course you can.
So he did that. And then his other play, which was his very favorite play, it was an amazing play. It was called Avatar, and set in the temple of Shiv. And so, this life is very interesting. Like I meet this guy, John Hall, who turns out to be my neighbor, and then we work together. And I'm seeing him in a movie when I was 8 months old.
Exactly.
About that. And like here I go in for the extra union, and the chairman there, or whatever his rank was at the time, is Mr. Anderson, who's my dad's old friend and business partner in a theater company. So I went into the system, and I was completely knocked out by the kind of studio stuff. I thought, I'm not going away from this. This is it.
It's enticing.
This is where people make movies, And Stanley Kubrick was shooting 2001 in the MGM studios, and the MGM studios no longer exist. They turned it into some kind of, I don't know what, but it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, and my first job was at that studio. And I used to sneak in to watch that kind of stuff. And he was like, I knew the third assistant there, and I would just say, I just want to watch this. Because I'd seen his movies like Killing, and I liked that movie quite a lot, actually. It was very refreshing to see a different style. It was a very powerful movie at the time. It still is, I bet. With Sterling Hayden. It was about a racetrack robbery. And very well shot from Stanley Kubrick. So like, he was not such a big name then, kind of thing, but 2001. And I used to go in there, and I used to see the set. I used to stand way back on the soundstage. I mean, like in the shadow or something. And he didn't like people coming in. No good directors want extra people over there.
No.
We don't like it. I mean, but I saw this guy walking up, He says, Stanley says, fuck off. I said, fine, okay, I'm going to cut out of it. So but the thing is this, that, like it's just what I really learned through this was the actual, what people put in how skilled people in this business, the skills are what counts. And actors, well, there are a lot of good actors. There are a lot of very good actors. I've been very fortunate. I've worked with lots of them. But every actor does not have the magic to be a star. That's something special. You can't train for that. You either have it or you don't. No matter how animated you become.
Really depends on the audience, actually.
Well, audience also. Well, there's an old story I heard from an old guy when I was working for Frankenheimer, and another movie I was working on in Spain. And this Tommy Overton was a friend. I mean, he was much older than me. I mean, he was like old Hollywood, a lot of people who made Hollywood with their own hands. And now they're only in history books here and there mentioned, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But these are people who are actually doing the stuff, the technology and so on. And he said to me, Kim Temeroff, there used to be a fantastic character actor in the 50s, up to 60s, Turkish-American guy called Akim Temeroff. Short guy, very impacttive looking, very interesting looking character, and played some very, very interesting characters in the movies. And he was also in Orson Welles with Charlton Heston, Janet Leigh. Charlton Heston playing a Mexican lawyer. So Akim Temeroff is in that also. He's playing the bad guy, like always. And he was a great actor, Akim Temeroff. And so Tommy Overton was telling me that when Akim Temeroff had done For Whom the Bell Tolls, old movie with Gary Cooper, and so he was saying, look, now I've got this fantastic character, and I have this big speech, and this big Dumkov, this cowboy, is standing there in front of me and saying, yep, nope, yep, nope, Gary Cooper, and I'm just going away, just flying, doing my big, fantastic acting piece. And you see what happens. He says, when I go to see the movie, everybody's watching Gary Cooper. Nobody's watching me. I'm also watching Gary Cooper. That is the magic, the star quality. People you can't train for it. It is, you have it or you don't have it. That's it. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know. I mean, I used to go to kind of, sniff around at drama schools and things, like you see what's happening there, and film schools and things. And film school was in England was just London School of Film. And everybody was wearing kind of like dark glasses and books, and everybody wanted to be a director kind of thing. And this had nothing to do with reality. Making films is a whole different business. People who invented movie making never had a film school. They didn't go to no film school. Charlie Chaplin didn't go to any film school, but they developed movie making. They knew this was a lens. I can see like this, but lenses have a fixed focal length, and need to actually see like the lens to be able to, and so many other things. Now we are in a whole different age altogether. Skill is not that relevant, which is absurd. I mean, it's like it's the strike going on right now. My son is involved in. My son lives is grown up in Hollywood. He lives there, and he's an actor, writer, producer, and things.
Yeah.
And he's in the forefront of this guy.
Barber?
Yeah. And my older daughter, whose computer I'm using, is also a writer filmmaker, and my younger daughter is a very successful fashion model and a writer, Zara. Yeah, and so the family is like that. My brother's daughter is an actress. She's in America. and she's a writer actress doing theater very successfully right now. And the whole family is like that.
There's
My
this
entire
lineage
family
attached to the
yeah,
performing arts.
is in this business basically
Yeah.
primarily because of dad's influence. But skills are singularly important. I mean, people, drama and acting and creating characters is it requires a certain amount of experience of life.
Yeah.
Must and then actual skills of the craft. I mean, people have so many different styles, and Fellini's films changed my life altogether. It's my whole way of looking at things changed.
Yeah.
And there's this guy sitting watching my movie. It was a magical experience. I thought, hello, what's going on here? I mean, somebody they're trying to put things together, and but that's it. That's the magic of this thing, and it's sad in a way now in this place, for instance, because what you say and what you can't say, and it's it's a very difficult set of circumstances.
And art is really kind of like affected when you have to kind of take these things into account, and it just kind of, I don't know, when you have something like this kind of cloud over you.
Yeah, and that's it. That's life, though. I mean, but things happen. The whole world is there's another change now. We're in the middle. I mean, this whole era is coming to an end, and it's a mega change period.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a colossal change. I don't think a lot of people even realize that they're just going, and without even thinking, they're just absorbing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new set of technology now. This technology and that. This is this. They just and who actually. I was writing a scene, something, and then a whole outline developed for a storyline. It's just like it would be interesting to actually. It's a humanity, in actual fact, is heading for a mega nervous breakdown because when you communicate with people and they don't sound real, a lot of people. They don't sound real. They don't sound real because they're not talking about real things. They're not talking human terminology. They're talking some algorithm terminology. It's and even now the most kind of like people who are the most possessed, even if you put them in a theater and they watch some really an interesting human interchange, they'll be fascinated, but they can't get to see it because amongst them there the people who can actually do it are fewer and fewer and fewer. People like Ridley Scott for me are gold dust. And I mean, he's amazing. The guy is a total inspiration. Like he is like, making film after film. I mean, he's pretty much the same age group as I am.
Mm.
And I got really inspired by this. Like I just feel, wow, and I know when he started work, I used to know his brother and stuff like that. And so this business is full of some of the most amazing, fascinating people, and I'm very fortunate to actually have lived through that. But I keep thinking that my life, I have somehow or the other, I have to do a few things before my time's up, kind of thing, while I can still move. and dance, you see.
So
Because
inspiring. That's really inspiring. And honestly, I can't tell you how inspired I have been, like from your Instagram. Actually, I showed my dad. My dad was like, "Please tell Salmaan, sir, he is such an inspiration." Where he saw you, I think you were at the gym and you were doing some exercise, and he saw
that,
that video, and he was like, "Mashallah, mashallah, mashallah." And he was actually, honestly, he wanted me to tell you that the way you're talking, like the passion you have for your craft, I think that's what it's all about, really. Like you have
yeah,
to have
absolutely.
passion.
Passion. Yeah,
Passion.
yeah, that's it.
So how do you usually get into like the headspace of each and every one of your characters? Is there like a different method, or kind of like depends on the character?
Well, yeah, it depends on the directors also.
Mhm.
I feel it depends in the sense that is the director kind of like relaxed kind of a person. Like, I mean, like if now I write and I act and direct,
Yes.
but if I'm acting, for instance, my mind is I'm a professional. My mind is not on directing. I photograph films also for other people, but like I'm a multi-dimensional kind of a person. I just kind of like, not, can't put me in a whole kind of category here like this. But directors need to be sure of themselves. So if they're dealing with good actors, they need to actually, good directors would not bug you. They would not kind of like crowd you.
Mm.
They let you flow and develop the character. But I mean, it's important for me to understand what is somebody tells the script. I say, well, please tell me the story.
Yeah.
I read the script afterwards. Only tell me the story. A script is for lines. The rest of the job is your job. I'm not going to actually be taking shots and things like that. So, I mean, I'm interchange between characters. Just tell me the story as you see it and explain to me, and that's it. So, if that grabs me and I said, fine, it's okay, because the director reveals themselves. I mean, that they're easy, they're kind of comfortable, they're confident, they're not threatened by somebody's presence. I've worked with loads of directors over the years, and everybody in my time group and age group has done that. Loads of actors and directors. And unfortunately, lots of not very good directors, but jobbing directors who just do the job and go, somebody has cuts this stuff.
Mm.
But actually, the thing is this, that I don't have any, I just, once I understand the character, this is what is in the relationships, then it's just sort of very natural for me. As I said earlier, there's some things that I can do well, and there's some things that I cannot do well.
Mm.
And some things I'm very, very good at, and some things I'm not that good at. And I'm good at putting meaning into the character, whether on the theater, standing on stage, or in cinema. Film acting is, as you know, different because it's close-ups and long shots and etc. Equipment, people, etc., etc., etc. And I've worked with some very good actors who are also very complicated actors. I will not name names, but on like, in playing major roles on British television. But I just sit there and just watch this director losing his balance because of the actor. And no, it's like this, and it's like this. After a while, he said, "You've not spoken a word. What do you think?" I said, "Well, I don't have to speak the word. I don't think about what I think is there's no difference between you. Each time you try to do something, it's the same because it's you.
Mm.
You look the same, you sound the same. So I don't see what the problem is. So the problem is between you and John, who's directing the show. So I'll just sit there and watch you. When you're ready to actually work, I'll just stand up and do my bit."
Yeah.
So like, and a lot of actors make a big deal out of this, and it's not necessary. I don't have, if I'm working out a scene, I've never had a problem creating a scene. Never. I've directed 9 shows in the theater. I've done 2, 3 films, my own. Unfortunately, I wanted to do more, but Pakistan has been a disaster for me from that point of view. But for me to make a scene is not an issue. I don't know why people get their knickers in a twist trying to figure out a scene. It just kind of flows. Once I got the story idea together and things like that, characters, important things are people, characters who are going to interchange. The scene just comes together like this. And it's not a problem. But acting-wise, it's for me, it's never been a difficult situation. I know a couple of times I've done things that were not good, and producer would come and tell me, like on Emergency Ward 10, one time it happened. That was my first big deal, big show. And I got the lead. I mean, at that time, Asian actors didn't go beyond Mr. Patel of the corner shop. Yeah. That was it. There was no way that somebody would be cast as one of the leading characters in a big series, top-ranking series at the time. And that was a big break. And I didn't even realize it at the time. Other people, actors, a lot of actors used to come and go and things like that in the show. And they would come and say, because they were doing shows, this is phenomenal, etc., etc. I mean, England was a very different place then at that time. But, Cecil Petty, who was producer, was an amazing guy, came and said to me that, I was not doing well. And I said, how so? And he said, the thing is this, that you're not putting out the magic you were doing actually earlier. And your performance is going like this. And that, that happens. So I got a wake-up call and I thought, why? Why do you think? And he said, well, I don't know. I mean, it's just, the first time you appeared, it was a hit. And it just continued. And now it's running out of gas like a thing. And it's so that kind of thing happened. But it's a long show, playing the same character over and over again is not a great thing. But it happens. But once I understand a character, that's what I need to do. I can't be that person, whatever that person is. If I'm acting, I know it's me and my face, unless I've just put all kinds of weird makeup on my face and to change. But it's, I've listened to a lot of people in my life talking about acting on the net and things like that. And I'm part of the time I'm amazed. I just wonder where they find the words. I mean, I just kind of sit there and listen to it like this. I say, well, wow. When I remember this kind of conversation, this one piece example I have in my life is there was I had one of my films was I think it was Zergo were running at the Washington Festival of all places. It was a very interesting festival. I mean, not a famous festival, but it was a festival. It done in the general route and so on and so forth on festivals. But they had a thing going with the directors and on Borders bookstore. And there was a bunch of people who were asking questions and so on. And I had this French guy sitting next to me, and he was just talking. I mean, I was just kind of like this and listening to him, trying to, he was explaining about the reality of, etc., filming the reality. And I thought, what a lot of bullshit. Because, I mean, how come it's a reality? It can never be a reality. I mean, the minute you put a camera and a focal length, it ceases to be a reality. It's your version of reality. And you can turn that to reality any way you want. I don't like scared people. People in this part of the world have something problem with older people. I mean, I can put half of the young men down and like, if I have to face them in a thing, for instance. But it's fine. Okay, I train and stuff like that, and I've done that most of my life. And but they have an issue with an old person. They don't know how to handle an older character. He must be in a wheelchair, he must be on a stretcher, he must be half dead, he must have this, he must have that, just kind of, so it's the life in actual fact is very different. Life begins like what Picasso used to say that, 60s or something like that, you kind of like, and then something like, I've forgotten his famous saying. But there's an issue. But like with the Saab, I didn't have a issue. It was very easy.
Yeah.
That was it. But I kind of like don't. I have to do it, and it clicks. When I'm there, I will just actually start the performance, and that's it. That's when it happens. Until then, I'm absorbing everything. I can go through the rehearsals.
Yes.
Walk through them really, and most directors are very obliging. They kind of don't push it because they think that I'll come up with the goods, and I'm just absorbing the other actors and trying to understand their personalities and stuff, and that's very important for me. That people I'm interchanging.
Absorb the energies as well.
Yeah. Even if they are not saying lines, if they're there in the shot, they're looking, doing something, and it's important to actually understand their kind of. I'm good at figuring it out. Vibrations, I believe in all of that kind of currents and electricity people emit and all of that, and I can feel that. I think most people do, but some recognize them, some don't. And that's important for me. And once that the action starts, I just get it. That's it. And I just go with it. And whatever my craft or whatever it is, it's I just do it. I just need to know if it's a film, what kind of shot it is, like, because it's a mid shot, it's a wide shot. I can't just I can just add to it without interfering with the direction or cinematography or whatever. So and theater is different, but yes. I have not actually done theater in a long while, but it doesn't matter. The minute you do, it comes back. And but I just I'm amazed at the people that it's very interesting that they talk so articulately about the craft. But I wonder, I think they're all greater than I am, because I can't talk like that. Yeah, I don't know what to say, really. I do it. It just happens with me. I just understand the situation. And, if I'm working for somebody, if somebody else is directing the thing, then I would need them to tell me that do they need me more to get, like, for instance, more angry or more restrained, and I'll do that, but I don't want somebody to crowd me, my performance. Yes. Like, and with Jamil Delvi in Blood of Hussain, I had a good working relationship, because he never really tried to, come up with, a lot of directors are not good directors. And he was very confident of the story. He was very confident of me, which is very, I mean, you need to see that, a director who's working with me is confident with the actors.
Yes.
It's a good thing to see in a director. And these are unspoken words, you see.
Yeah. It's like unspoken communication.
It just happens. It's just body language and electricity. So once that happens, then it's a good feeling, and it makes a good number altogether. But other than that, I do my best. I mean, I understand the character and I do my best, and it works out fine. Sometimes, and very occasionally, it is not that good, and I don't do those things which I cannot do. I will not get into that. Other than that, I just like doing it. I mean, I just love it. I won't change it for anything in the world. I would just do this
So
all
wisely
the time,
spoken.
you know, and whether I got the money or not the money, but I love doing it. I love acting. I love making films. I love telling stories. I
And that's
love
the
food.
reason why you should do it, because of the love.
Yeah. Yeah. And just the passion has not finished in me. I mean, it's just
Oh,
kind of like
yeah.
it's just like it's just keeps me alive. It gives me the energy to live. It gives me the power to actually go out every day and train. Uh, Not necessarily in the gym. I do it in the outdoors, in the jungle, or in a
Mm.
park, or something like that. That's the best form of training because you're
Wow.
with the elements, or you're with
Yes.
nature, and nature is life. Nature is inspiration. Nature is the source of, I mean, everything, imagination and so on. And so it's kind of like I remember when I was a kid, I used to play on the trees because we had lots of trees in where we lived.
Yes.
It was a farm country, and and the environment was absolutely beautiful. It was like a world that doesn't exist anymore. And so I got ropes tied up. I've seen Tarzan movies and Tarzan comics. I used to swing from one tree to the other, the big trees and so on.
Mm.
Guy used to come see my dad on Sundays after church. He was Mr. Daniels. And my dad was kind of writing most of the time,
Mm.
and or reading or doing something like that. And Mr. Daniel would come and have a cup of coffee there with Dad, and then he'd go away. And then he'd just come and walk on the trees, and he would be talking to the trees. And I just, swung from one tree to the other, climbed down, came see my dad. And I said, Dad, this Mr. Daniel is loco. And he said, why? Because I said, he's talking to the trees. He said, well, that's why he comes here.
It's the trees.
The
Yeah.
trees are, yeah, because the trees are his friends. He just sits with me to have a cup of coffee. It's a courtesy because it's my house. And how can a tree be a friend? So it all started from there, like really, because you put things in a kid's brain, they'll accept anything and they'll grow with it. So that's life form. That's life. So when I train most of the time, I need to have, the trees around. You can touch the tree and feel the energy in the tree.
Mm.
It's nature, which is actually being decimated in this part of the world, turning into cement, housing societies, plazas, weird stuff. Life is, all art comes from life, all science comes from life. There's nothing beyond that. There's nothing more important than that. It's existence, what there is in front of us, our own life and the life of others, humanity, and the nature, birds.
Beautifully said, honestly. I'm just wowed by the way you described it.
But, a lot of birds have gone from here.
Yeah.
They don't live here no more. And I just remember there were a bunch of birds would come. I don't know where they came from Siberia or somewhere like that.
Mm.
But their sound was just dulcet, beautiful, and mellow. And at 4 o'clock one morning, I heard them chatting away. I thought, wow, they're back. And, but it was dark. I couldn't see them there, sort of thing. And so, that's life. You need to be connected to, I need to be connected to life.
Yeah.
And anything that actually that comes like in stories that are formed in my head is all the people I have known in my life and the things, the drama that I have seen, etc. A lot of things. So when you start describing it in sort of clinical terms, that this is my craft like this, I don't know that craft. I know it is a craft. I know it is a skill, but
When you overanalyze it, it doesn't have the same.
no. I'm not in that business. I can't
Yeah.
do that. It's somebody else's job to do that.
Yeah.
Uh, Once I start analyzing, then I become an analyzer. I'm no longer a creative artist. And
Exactly.
and so if I'm done good, like people will like it. If I'm not done good, people will not like it. But I believe in it. Once I'm doing something, I believe in it. I believe in it. I believe in the people who are working with me. I have a close, natural respect for them because the fact that they're there, they're working with me, they're creative artists, whether they're technicians or actors, and one is on the same page, kind of,
Yes.
communicating on multiple levels. Shoom, 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 all kind of vibrations and energy, currents going back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. It's
Mm.
not the words you say, it's what is commonly described as body language. You know, it's like people emit extraordinary currents. So once you have a good scene, a good situation in a scene, in a movie, or a theater show, that sort of thing happens. When that happens, the thing, bang, is a success. It works like magic, you know. And so once I understand the character and my relationship as an actor with the other actors and characters, I just do it. I just do it. I don't think about how I'm going to plan this, and this angle is going to come like this. The, the directors have to be very specific because they have to actually tell a story in a certain framework.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I worked. I mean, like a lot of the times. I mean, I did a lot of television when I was starting. I just actually never stopped working
Yeah.
after Emergency 10, and I did a couple of theater things before then, and I just never stopped working. I mean, there would be like 1-2 months break. I mean, I had a bad year in which the whole year I didn't get anything. But
Mm.
otherwise, I was just constantly doing stuff, and it just got better and better and better. And the thing is that my career really got cut off. My
Mm.
career was not here. It was in England, and from England, it was in Europe. And the natural destination, America, where I was already actually engaged. But so I didn't realize that in the passion of the moment much.
Mm.
But because the effort that I put into the theater workshop and the two films that I made here, that was Blood Over Sand and with Jamil and
That was such a remarkable film. Can I just say that was, I think it was actually it was so evolved and ahead of its time, and I just don't think enough people understood it.
yeah,
And I loved it. I personally I have the we have the BFI version of it.
oh yeah. I was gonna I was Jamil sent me an email, I think, month before that, and I was hoping that I'd make it there, but I didn't because of
Yes,
things
his
were
his
happening. And
his talk is actually on the Blu-ray version. So his entire talk
yeah,
when he was here.
yeah, yeah. But it's good. And do you ever see Private Enterprise?
That's the one I haven't seen, but I know that
It's
was
a good film. It's a good
yes.
film, and it's kind of was very successful when it came out,
Mhm.
and has become kind of like underrated in many ways. Somehow it's just disappeared from the thing, from conversation and reference and so on, which
Mm.
is very sad, because really one of the first films that actually focused on British Asian um, characters
Experience.
and experience. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's and was well made altogether. My career abruptly came to a kind of cutoff, I think, because like coming back and getting involved in a I'm very naive in many ways. I just take things at face value and trusting. This is a whole different universe here. It's very different, very bizarre. I'm back to England after after 3 years, maybe three, and I did a couple of shows. I did Jewel in the Crown.
Jewel in the Crown, yes, you were saying.
Yeah. A couple of other things, and trying to set up my own film. Then I had to go to America, and then I just moved to US for a while. But as far as acting and making things is concerned, making films and doing this, it's a natural thing for me. I can't imagine doing. I mean, I'm very interested in just about everything, primarily technology. I reread a lot of stuff. I write a lot. And I'm doing my first graphic novel, which is taking
because of the sketching. You said you were really good at it.
yeah. And it's very interesting. It's turned into a very interesting piece of work.
Nice.
And but it's just taking me longer to actually finish things because of there are that many more hurdles. I'm not used to them. I'm still like an alien because there's I still don't understand many things, the underspeak and the vocabulary and the innuendo and various other things. This is a very different mindset altogether. But I understand it very much, kind of thing, and trying to more and more. But it's this entire part of the world is embroiled in conflict. So if you have people who've never actually experienced living in conflict, they have no idea what one is talking about, basically.
Yeah.
It's a strange, it's very different experience altogether. And but it's also very dramatic, and it can actually, in my case, it would produce interesting thoughts and ideas. But I will not necessarily be able to. I will not be able to articulate them here in an environment, which will be a loss, because an idea, once it's formed, it becomes a living thing. Yeah. Because everything is energy that is moving out, and it's in the atmosphere. My interpretation of I did Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart in the theater, and I shot a movie, which is still in post-production. It's a multi kind of, it's a very interesting idea. It's like it's all about fear, right? And it's like and it's in this my interpretation is set in 1940 in Hollywood on a soundstage, where Orson Welles is making a film of Telltale Heart. Louis B. Mayer and Orson Welles, two different people. Two ends of the two poles or whatever. Yeah. And but it's imagination. It's just a story. It's I have perfect legitimate rights to be able to do that. And the whole action takes place on a soundstage. And the idea was in the theater production was that as one of the usherettes, the show was brought here to Pakistan, when they were having my family company used to have international festivals, and the international festivals came to an end because there were bomb blasts. That was the end of the international festivals. but the idea is like all the electric currents moving in the atmosphere. Cell phone currents, electric currents, vibrations, through things, weather, sounds. People say things, sounds go, and they don't die away. They keep floating in the atmosphere, back and forth, people say. So I'm interested in these things, and I like to read on these things and expand and learn more, because science has always fascinated me more than, if I had not been in the arts, I would be in science, in physics, in actual fact. It's just completely fascinating. And it's the arts is a reflection of it. It's like, it's like science and creative art just are blended together. It's I've just never lost any kind of fascination for things. I mean, I was fascinated by the night sky when I was a little kid and was sleeping outside in the summertime, in the side garden of the house, looking at the sky when there was no pollution, and you could see almost every galaxy in the sky. And I had that experience later, many years later. Now it's not possible. Now you don't see that. But I used to, we used to spend time up in Devon and Somerset, and it was like that there, because there was no pollution. The sky was clear. And I love the country and countryside. I don't like cities too much, and nature and so on. But the thing is this, I used to just, my fascination has not left me. It's just wonder. It's always
and
just
it should
like,
never leave you. It should never leave you.
Curiosity and fascination is just kind of like part of my daily existence. So the most simplest things fascinate me. I just need to know more about them. And they end up being stories then, and so that's about the long and the short of it, really. I don't know how to explain acting other than when I've done something and people have liked it, it's always obviously very satisfying. It's a privilege, and to see that happen. But it's been a kind of like, I've not changed I've learned things through the years. Things I did not know how to do, I've learned to do them better. And I'm a good learner. I learn things. I do not take a position. Even now, if I believed in something for the last 40 years as the finality of something, and if that turns out to be not correct, I will just change my views, because I want to move forward in my life, not go backwards. So learning is a very important part of living, and as some doesn't have to be an important person who will teach you something, and so if your mind is open for learning, you learn, and it's all about that. You learn, and then you actually share that knowledge in your craft, in your work, with other people, as an actor or the director or the painter or writer or whoever, or a musician. But somebody who is not a learner what are they going to do? What are they going to say?
You can't be closed off. You have to be open.
Yeah. And they in the earlier time of my career, doing a lot of television, all the series were shot on film. The series were shot on film, and then the directors, I don't know where they came from. There's some pretty nasty guys who were directors, not very good directors, bossy, and they would especially actually boss around young actors who were on the make upwards. They didn't like people who were rising, And there was a bit of racism also attached to things, which I didn't notice. But I mean, when I was a kid, I was not very obliging. I would just kind of go, and not very pliant and accepting bullshit. But I didn't experience a great deal of that personally. I don't know why. And there was always there in England, there was a lot of it, frankly, because when I didn't know that there were actually when I was cast in another show, there was a series, and the producer told me that there was a lot of hate mail. I said, "What do you mean hate mail?" I've been talking about late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what kind of hate mail? They said about casting you as the leading character and one of the leading characters in the show. I said, oh, well, so fine, but like, so but that thing is now very different. I mean, it's a whole different generation grown up of people and who are British and very strongly British, and they're kind of like doing stuff. But I don't know how I've not been there for a while, so I don't know how it's kind of.
It's changed, I think, a lot. But still, like in the last few years, I would say it has changed. We talk about Blood of Hussein. I just think truly, like the characterization of both your characters. Can I just say they seem different. And so, did you meet Jamil sir in London during your time in London? Is that how you met?
No. I met Jimmy while when I was here. I was actually working on the theater workshop, setting it up. Planning on going back in the next few months, but it just lingered on and on and on. So we met here, and he really wanted me to do the movie, and we did it. So, and that's it. And it's actually, I was originally I was not going to play both the brothers. It was another actor who was going to play, but he was not able to. He was going to be late for over a month after shooting a couple of scenes because he was doing a movie with Satyajit Ray, and he was giving it more preference than this, and Jimmy got, I think, pissed off kind of thing, and but they the cinematographer Walter Lassley said that why don't I play both the brothers? And Jamil said, yeah, sure, absolutely. He said, will you do that? And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. I said, do you have an issue? And I said, no, I don't have an issue. I mean, you just have a schedule, let's go for it. And I'll do it. And that's how it happened. So I don't know how to describe this. And I just imagined him as a different person. That's it. And it showed on my whatever.
It did. It honestly did. Like
I was just a different person. I worked on that Hussein character.
Completely different to the brother.
One character, and then I saw the brother. I said, fine, he's a bureaucrat. He's a bit anglicized. He's kind of like pro this. He's a national sellout, and he's doing English sort of thing. And my first wife was also English, but the thing is that I just saw that kind of put him in that kind of category and just thought about it for a while, and I got it, and I couldn't explain it, and so I said, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it, and let's do it. So when we did it everybody around, Jamil liked it very much. He said, that's great. And I said, fine, that's pretty good then. We go for it. And that was it. So, I was playing consciously two different characters in that film. Yeah. I knew now I'm playing Salim, and now I'm playing Hussein.
Yeah.
And Hussein is different, and Salim is different, and this is what they are. And so when my mind goes there, it just naturally starts flowing along that direction, and it just develops naturally. I don't think about, like, great dramatic lessons and this is how I have to tailor this and so move it like this. That's all. I don't have to do any of that. It just happens, and it's I will react to it or do it as a different person altogether. And that was a good experience for me also, and everybody else. Everybody was happy on the set. That's what counts. The director was happy. It was fine, and the film didn't actually get over on delayed.
It was 3 years after, I think it was released, wasn't it? It was made in 1977, and then it took a couple of years, I think, and then it premiered at Cannes, I guess.
Yeah. It was
in the 1980s.
Yeah, in the 1980s, and yeah, and I think that's the best thing he's done, actually.
It was truly like I think it was so like evolved.
Yeah.
So evolved, like and I didn't realize that he was Zahid in the film.
Yeah.
He was in the film.
Yeah. So that was it, and then there were a couple of things that didn't materialize, and but I ended up spending a lot of time in developing my own film. It didn't happen. I made a mistake of actually setting up a production and putting a lot of effort in prepping and doing everything, and trying to bring it to Pakistan for location purposes, because I knew the locations well, and it was close to Central Asia. My story was a period story.
Yes.
And it was one of the best things I think I did in my life. I mean, my life's work. I hope I end up making that film. But the thing is this, that it was like, it required horses and various things and elements and background action, which was only available here in the northern area of this part of the world, because it was in close proximity to Central Asia, 1 hour's flight time from Central Asia to the north, and Afghanistan. And then it just, it was war-torn anyway, but it's always been war-torn. I mean, throughout my life, I've known the area has been I was born in the bloodiest time of the history of this part of the world, the partition, 1947.
Yeah.
It was truly bloody and devastating. I have those images locked in my brain and replay from time to time. And but in the north of the country, because I'm essentially from the Pashtun background.
Okay. Yeah.
And Turkic beyond that, because people were migrating. A lot of people migrated from Central Asia into to what was then India, and from Khorasan, Afghanistan, into the what was called the northwestern frontier province of India, which is now Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in Pakistan. So it was right up to the Punjab, actually, northern Punjab was migrations, constant, because there were wars. So there were a lot of migrations coming from there, people coming and settling because there were fertile plains and harvest and good for the farming and so on. So it was so this part of for my story, the background action was very important. I know on the big screen you can see everything, and so those elements were available here. And I made a mistake by actually putting that cost me a great deal of time, effort, and setbacks, because it couldn't be done here because there was there were all kinds of unimaginable difficulties came about. and then you learn what is possible and not possible and so on. And it's now we're at a time where most places you cannot actually say things that you actually feel like saying, and which is a very strange time altogether. And the planet, I mean, because it's just so full of it's conflict. It's just worldwide conflict. It's a time mega conflict, and one of the things that is that can save is the obviously is nature, respect for nature, and the arts, creative arts, and human imagination. Humanity, not artificial intelligence. And what happens is happening faster. Things happen faster than the things that took maybe months or years to take place are happening in weeks and days. The movement has become faster.
Become like an industry, I think.
Yeah. Everything is kind of moving fast.
Like a factory.
And people are losing their thinking capacity at a faster rate at the same time, and reliance on other things, crutches and gadgets to do less thinking on one's own. So put somebody without a cell phone and on their own for a day, and it'd be difficult for them to last that day for most people, let alone a week or a month. But this should be kind of like practiced as an exercise. Or to exercise your own imagination and come up with ideas. The thing is this: everything is people are very articulate and in justifying everything. Everything has a justification. Everything has can be very simply explained. It's like this. It's like this. It's like this. And some people have command of words. Other people don't have command of words. Some people want to argue, debate. Other people don't want to argue and debate. I don't want to get into argy-bargy and debates and things like that. It's a complete waste of rations. It's a waste of time. Nothing to be gained from there. Because like it's just not trying to convince. Of course, you can try to convince someone. If there is a interesting exchange, a dialogue, and not succeed. I mean, you don't start by actually saying, I must succeed. That's dictatorship. But an exchange of ideas between humans on human terms is a very significant thing. People will realize it, I think, more and more. This generation will not. This new generation will not, because they have been trained otherwise. They just do not know it. They don't understand themselves. They don't understand anything. That is why I keep saying that it's like, it's like a whole bunch of humanity moving towards one very massive, mega nervous breakdown. Just imagine the number of the currents, just visualize currents crisscrossing. This is a video game with those rays shooting up and down. I mean, just going like this, that's currents going across. That's all the confusion. Artificial intelligence, cell phones, information, this, that, vlogs, news, channels, destruction, wars, chaos, all the wars that are taking place and the combat that's going on in the areas. Where do you think that goes? In the atmosphere, in the air. The wind has no borders. It just flows across. I mean, you know, like the Chernobyl plant happened, and all the livestock got damaged in Ireland. You know, so the
Everything
wind
has
is
a
invisible.
reaction.
It just carries it with it. I mean, you know, just we have a conflict going on, and not too far away. So you can walk. We can walk there from here. You can go on a bicycle. There's no ocean in between.
Yeah.
You know, and so all of that is in the atmosphere,
Mm.
and nature is revolting. There's a lot of stuff happening, which is a big shaker in actual fact. So the this, like science, cinema, and the arts, literature, and storytelling, and narratives, theater productions, whether it's in a theater or it's taking place on the street, or we are communicating like we're communicating, and things that are this is a human in complete in their total essence. Human are important, and they must not be abandoned.
Yeah.
I mean, how much of the brain has been explored? I've been talking about this for the last couple of days with my couple of friends. How much? They say most of the brain is. No, I might sound like a novice, but I'm not. I mean, you know, like the thing is this, that we're jumping into a lot of things which we don't know how they're going to react, how they're going to turn around. Creative work in cinema will keep on changing with the changing technology and ways of seeing movies and things. I hope the big screen element never goes away, because big screen can happen anywhere. You don't have to be in you know, in the future things will be different, but there will be this big screen experience, and the creative arts experience is a human experience, and that it can play a very, very major part role in actually um, a positive role
Yeah.
in societies, bringing people together. People have been trying to do that for a very long time, not succeeding a great deal. But it's time that, you know, well, the people really put some serious thought in that and say, you know, this is a time for humanity to come together
Mm.
and stop killing each other for a while. And you know, so that'll make a lot of difference. It may sound like naive talk, nonsense, but it is not. It is what nature demands.
Mm.
And um, uh, my job is to actually, wherever I am, is to be add some kind of positive element, not a negative element,
Yes.
through my work. I've seen a lot of nasty things happening because people have no idea what happens. A lot of people, you know, unless they've seen battlefronts and things. But you know, it's. I always experience. I have known people. You know, my graphic novel has a character that finds it very difficult to actually do good things. You know, and he's motivated sometimes, but he doesn't end up. He's like, you know, so a lot of people are like that in this world. The circumstances make people like that.
Yeah.
And nobody's born like that. And there is so much understanding now, and there's so much more knowledge now. But there's suddenly a proliferation of for instance, PhDs on the net, like Twitter and everything else. I've never seen so many scientists and PhDs all over the place. You know, they're just mostly talking things that don't really make sense. because it's like imposing their knowledge on people that we are PhDs. We know more than you do, etc. That is bullshit, and it's kind of like it's the whole of um, to be simplistic. People call it, this is very simplistic. This is not, this is real, this is life, is to celebrate the beauty of craft, art, nature, humans, music,
Exactly.
and creative work, creative science, and go to the stars, and and dreams. But that's important.
Yeah.
Not killing people, not kind of oppressing people. Is
Yeah.
not is and but just it's we're evolving. We are where we are at this point in time.
Mm.
Wishful thinking is something else, because you've got to deal with what you're dealing with. I mean, I lived many years on wishful thinking. I mean, this will happen, that will happen. Things don't happen. You cannot abandon the reality that you're in. I mean, you just, I mean, and you have to deal with it. And then it's a problem when you want to express yourself and you can't, because you can be put in the nick for that. I mean, that's absurd. So, but that's the way it is.
Mm.
And it's that's the kind of passage we're actually traveling at this point in time as the human race. At the same time, they're kind of like all kinds of weird things happening.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. People. There's a. It's kind of turns acting into making movies into insignificant situation, but it's not. It's the most significant thing I think that you can do at this point
Yeah.
in time.
It is. It's an
And
archive footage of life, like at the time. So when you watch a film from, like, for
I
example, Metropolis, if you watch it from the time, like
I
it's
have 3
been
projects
decades.
in a row sitting that I cannot complete right now, actually, films, because I can't. I mean, the issues that I will not even go into.
Yeah.
Why? So, I mean, each project takes a lot of time, effort, um, money, and everything, and your brain time, trying to actually put and develop something. And I'm just not able to actually see a completion.
I was intrigued by your the mystic's journey, the golden calf, the mystic's journey. I was really intrigued by that.
Yeah, yeah. But that's kind of ended pretty
Yes.
much. It's just that I haven't actually uh, done what I need to do, which is actually not more than a couple of weeks' work, basically,
Mm-hmm.
because of it's done basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it just needs some technical process to go through, and sound and stuff, and it's a very interesting look into the tradition of how it's the because the Indus Valley Sufis in this part of the world were very famous, and um, um, and it's how the traditions actually are, how they're practiced.
Mm.
It's not so much about them; it's more about the present day people and their beliefs and their rituals,
Yeah.
and how they see them and how they celebrate it and practice it.
Mm.
So it's more about them than the original guys,
Oh.
and so it's very interesting, and it's about uh, regular people. None of them are intellectuals or
Mm.
philosophers, and they're the salt of the earth people
Yeah.
whose beliefs right or wrong, are pure because they're from the heart, and they're not kind of like, they believe in divine justice, whether you like it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
That is their belief, and they are hungry for sort of like spiritual guidance. It's how the system has evolved, how things have developed.
When we go to Lahore, we used to always kind of visit Data Saab,
Yeah,
and then also my brother recently, a couple of years ago, he went to the Baba Bulle Shah's shrine
oh
in
yes,
Kattur, and it was one of the best days like he had throughout the entire trip. Just the peaceful nature of people just sitting there, singing. Just everyone was so peaceful, and the whole energy there was completely different to how it is in the city in Lahore, and when you're just outside, just in this area. And actually, I found it really peaceful when I went to on our last trip before COVID. We went to were in Lahore, and then we drove to Rawalpindi. But on the way there, we stopped over in Katasraj, in Chakwal.
mm.
Katasraj, the shrine,
Oh yeah,
with
Shigwal.
Shiva shrine. We stopped over there, and it was such a peaceful moment. Like there was no one was there, just a bunch of locals, and no one
Yes,
else was there. And it was just actually one of the best days when there's not that many people around, and you just see like you absorb the nature. It's like how you said the elements, you absorbing the elements.
yeah. That's one of my favorite places.
Katasraj?
Not, yeah. And I've photographed there a lot, shot a film
Yes,
there.
it was stunning. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed that experience. And it was just, I think the sun was about to set as well. And it was just such I don't know, it was such an enriching experience. And
Yeah,
it was stunning. Like, because you just notice the difference when you're in the city and then suddenly you're not in the city and you just immerse yourself in the
Mm.
surroundings.
When I come to London, you'll see my film Zargol. I'll do a screening there. A lot of it has been shot in Chakwal because
Oh, right.
it's because it's very pretty part of Punjab.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's um, really interesting, beautiful landscape.
It
And
was stunning.
yeah. So I'll do a screening of a couple of my films, which I can't show here. I'll do a screening
I would
there.
love to see these films, honestly. I'm so intrigued by your work as a director and a writer as well. Like, just come back to the coffee house one more time, Rafi Peer. I'm really intrigued by.
No, that's a fabulous theater production. I've done it
That was,
at the
yeah.
World Performing Arts Festival twice, and I was on the verge of actually developing this with a couple of people in England to actually cast it partly in Germany and Europe and perform it in 2 or 3 countries to do a traveling show with it. Because it's a magnificent show. It's a musical. It's set in the 1930s, 20s, 30s Berlin, then 1940s India, and then the third chapter, the third act is after something like 50, 80 years in a futuristic landscape someplace in the same in this part of the world, and it's just very, very interesting theater show. It's just kind of like a mix of science fiction, fantasy, and on stage. And it's a show about real characters. It's about a real story about my dad, who's a writer, who was actually also a dancer, and because his girlfriend at the time was a consummate dancer. She was French, Jewish, living in Berlin, and worked in the cabaret and stuff. And he started writing interludes in the cabaret. and things like that. And so it's a very, very fascinating story. It's about a young woman from this part of the world who becomes a superstar as a dancing star. And, you know, the cinema has changed. The 80 years down the line, the world has altered quite a bit, and things are very different. And there's a revival of traditions taking place after extreme suppression and distraction. And the revival of traditions in this part of the world involves, it begins with women, and with their peace offerings. They go on the shrine, they create a shrine of Begum, this Punjabi village girl, which was actually the heroine of Akhiyan, Rafi Peer's classic play. And this it's just a fabulous story. That is it. So but it just never happened. Primarily because I wasn't there myself. If I had been there and I've been trying to put the show together there, I would have done it. You know. So I thought, fine, there'd be no need in casting actors from there. I could get actors from there. But it must have German actors because it's taking place in Berlin, so it has some German language in it.
Yeah.
German characters. Then it has some English characters, and then it has some Desi characters. Well, there are plenty of Desi young men and women out there, and do good acting. And it's a kind of theater show that it's the kind of show that a family would love to watch over and over again. It's like a kind of show that'll work for Christmas time. It'll work for any season, basically. It's just a very engaging, thoroughly exciting, enjoyable experience, basically. So you come out of the theater, you say, wow, we had a good time, you know, and then you talk about it and so on. That's what it is to me, the entertainment business. The movie or a theater that, you know, that just completely engages you, grips you, you know, all together. Because like, you know, you have the choice, like, you know, you have the choice to engage the audience. You know, very few people have that sort of power available in their disposal to you know, you see, and if so it's a production like that. I'm very proud of that thing, but I don't need to do it. I need to do it out of here.
I would love to see you do this in London as well. Like just come to London.
Yeah, maybe we could actually work out some kind of a situation where it can be done. It's not difficult to do it. It just primarily requires me to be there to actually motivate and make it happen, sort of thing. And then it's a sort of show, I wanted to tour it in different countries, take it to different places.
That would be so good.
Because it's 2 or 3 different languages. It runs in English language, it has German, it has Punjabi.
It connects with different
and music, and you have cabaret, and you have everything in it. You know, it's just like a big power punch. So like,
and people actually, I've noticed like nowadays with films, people are more open to kind of watching films from different languages now. Like you should have seen when I went with my brother to see Joyland at the London Film Festival, and people from different backgrounds are laughing with you guys, crying with you guys, laughing at the Punjabi jokes. And just it was completely like it was such a fascinating experience to see. Like we understood the Punjabi, but I mean, but like everyone from different backgrounds were there, and everyone was loving it. And that's what I must say, it was such an amazing experience when you have so different people from different backgrounds.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Absolutely, yeah. I was so happy to know that. I mean, you know,
it was
unfortunately, I just missed it. I couldn't be there. I had an accident, hit by a car.
Oh no! Are you okay now?
Yeah. Nothing was broken or anything, but it just I didn't want to be just walking around
And also,
living.
it's kind of difficult to get on a flight as well. Like when
Because also I needed to actually take care of this
it
thing.
was one of the nicest. I must say, it's truly like it was one of the best days actually of last year. I have to put it up there. It was actually like we met up with like the ladies of Joyland. So we met up with Alina, Purva, Rasti, and Sarva. So then we met them like just before the premiere, and then we went to we had tickets to see the film as well. So we saw Saim and Ali kind of introduce the film, everyone together, and it was just the nicest experience. I can't tell you like how much that film, like I don't know, did something to me inside. I don't know, it's too. I talk about it even like almost like a year, 10 months on. I'm still talking about how much I loved watching it. Globally, it was recognized a lot. Like at the like it was in the short list, and it was at the Cannes Uncertain Regard. It won, so
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, so I would really love to see you in London now as well.
Yes, that'd be great. I will. I need to do that actually, or sort of a whole bunch of things.
Are there any words of inspiration you'd like to give to anyone watching this?
I think it's time for solidarity for humans and nature. Humanity and nature, human beings and nature.
Yeah.
Planet Earth and humanity. And art and science comes after that. It is the spearhead for it, to be used as a spearhead to actually bring that change, the arts and the science, to humanity and nature. Recognize nature as a living, breathing thing. Exactly. Respect humanity and celebrate humanity through your art and science. And then aim for the stars. That's the route to go.
Exactly.
And that's it. What else? So without art, you can't do it. Without science, you can't do it. Science and art are together. Those who disagree can go and take a hike. And those who find meaning in it will do it. Probably doing it, or try doing it.
Yeah.
But that's the main, that is the thing. That's the kind of like, if anything, as a parting word or message I'd like to give is just that.
Yeah.
Humanity and nature, respect humanity.
Yeah.
Show compassion, life, respect life. Respect life, and which means people that you agree with and you don't agree with.
Yeah.
You see. And then you aim for the stars, and the universe is out there waiting. All art, imagination should be the prime things. Education. A lot of educated people have to be re-educated. It's just extraordinary. You have to actually be part of the change on the positive side. You can't change things being negative.
Exactly. You have to spread the love.
Yeah, just keep flooding and just keep going. And the arts and science are the key to actually lead humanity, and you have to actually respect nature, not destroy it mercilessly, because nature will wipe you out.
Yeah. Look how tiny we are compared to Mother Nature.
Yeah.
So I completely understand that.
That's it. And one can just, you have so much fun actually celebrating culture, human life, humanity, nature. So much fun. I mean, it's
Life
just
would be
great.
so much better if everyone kind of forgot their problems and just kind of learned to deal with each other. And I know it's kind of like, you know, John Lennon, Imagine. It's like one of those songs. It's so true. Thank you so much. This has been such a lovely and detailed and enriching conversation, and I can't
Thank
tell.
you
I
so
was
much.
really looking forward.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I was really looking forward to this all week. I was saying Salman sir has he because of the sheer experience. I knew this would be like one of the most exciting conversations. But there's so much history there and so much knowledge that you could just kind of, you know, share. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much. I mean, my pleasure.